Hi, my name is Sydney, and today we're going to be doing the Get to Know My Taste tag. Although I joined BookTube last year, I have watched so many creators, like years and years worth of BookTube videos, and so I know more in the past having tag videos was way more common. Nowadays, I really only see like beginning of year, mid-year, and end of year kind of book tags with a few more kind of spread out. I would love to start doing book tags. I think they're really cool ideas. Tags are kind of like lists of questions. Everyone answers almost in all the same questions, and then you all tag each other, and it's kind of like a community. Everyone answering the same questions in videos. And so when Marty Ness created the Get to Know My Book Taste tag, I thought that it would be such a cool idea for me to do it, and it'd be the very first book tag on my channel. I'm hoping that this will spark me wanting to do more book tags because I think they're really cute ideas, and I would love to just be more part of the BookTube community. So definitely go check out Marty Ness's video to see her original answers to her original questions, and then honestly just absolutely subscribe to her if you haven't already. She has such refreshing videos and ideas, and although I may not always agree with her, she always presents her arguments and her thoughts in just such a thought-provoking way that like I can never say that she's wrong like in anything, even if I completely disagree with her. But to be fair, I usually will agree with her because she'll either change my mind or like make me see things in a new light. Her videos are always some of my favorite ones to watch, so definitely subscribe to her if you haven't. There are 15 questions we're going to go through today, and I will list them all in the description below so that if you would like to also do this book tag, you can copy and paste them. Number 1, how do you rate books? Give a quick rundown on how you do your star ratings, or if you don't use star ratings, how you evaluate books. I have a whole video on how I rate my reads, as well as giving actual book examples for every star rating, but since I made that video, I changed up my system a little bit. Like most readers, I do rate on a scale of 1 to 5. I have done half-star readings for quite a few years now, but in 2025, I started doing quarter-star ratings, and I really love this new system because I had an unbelievable amount of 3.5 stars in previous years, which is just slightly better than average, but not good enough to be a 4 stars for me. But now with quarter-star ratings, I feel like my ratings just feel a lot more exact and exactly what I want. 1 stars for me are DNFs, 2 stars are I barely finished, 3 stars is middle of the road. It's not necessarily a bad book, it's something that's just not super memorable to me, something that just wasn't written very well, something I wouldn't really generally recommend to most people, or just something that I couldn't connect to whatsoever. It doesn't mean the book is bad, it just doesn't follow any of those criteria for me. If the book is bad, it's probably a 2 something, and then if the book is slightly better than good, but not great, it's gonna be somewhere in the 3 somethings. A book becomes great once it hits 4 stars for me, and I've had quite a lot of 4 stars, 4.25, 4.5 star ratings. These are books that were just really great, but there was just 1 or 2 or maybe 3 things that just didn't make it a perfect 5 stars for me. And 5 stars for me are I had no problems with it, like I felt connected to the material, and I would happily recommend it to everyone, and it's gonna be like a lifetime kind of 5 star for me. I haven't had a 5 star in a very long time, unfortunately, but I have had quite a few 4 point somethings, which is really good. I almost always know a book's rating right when I'm getting towards the end of the book, and even when I straight finish it. Normally I immediately know the star rating, but sometimes I'll wake up the next day and be like, oh, that was actually too high, or actually no, I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. And then there are ratings where a few months or a few years go by and like, okay, this 5 stars is really generous, it's actually more of a 4 star. Like, so things definitely change for me over time. I feel like I'm getting a lot better at knowing exactly what it is because I'm just getting, I just know myself more as a reader now. Question 2, how do you approach reviewing books? What's your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? I will preface this by saying I was an English major in college. I was studying to become a high school English teacher, and so unfortunately I went through a lot of classes in which I learned how to be a very critical reader, trying to get underneath the skin of a book and trying to see what was it trying to say, was it saying it well, how could it have been said better. I also worked in my school's writing lab in which I critiqued other people's writings, I critiqued their resumes, I critiqued a lot of writing, and I'm also a writer in training right now. I'm also critiquing other of my peer writers, I'm critiquing my own writers, so I am just a very critical thinker naturally. And I think this more so comes across of when there's a bad thing, I cannot let it go. I cannot look over really bad typos or gigantic plot holes, and for each one of these things that happen, I dock off a star rating, dock off a star rating. So I think in that regard, I can be very critical about my books, and unfortunately I can kind of come across when I'm writing reviews, because although I may enjoy 90% of the book, I'm going to most likely think about that 10% that really bothered me, and that's probably what's going to make it into the review. I tend to write all of my reviews for the month at the end of the month when I'm updating my reading spreadsheet and making sure that everything is caught up month by month, and so I kind of I go through and I write down little notes in my spreadsheet as I finish books so that I know what happened in them. But I tend to kind of collect my thoughts after a few days or a few weeks of having like sat on those feelings and thoughts. Problem with this is that I also feel like I have the memory of a goldfish. There are so many things that I forget over time. And so sometimes my reviews are very bare bones, being like, you know what, I really enjoyed this, but this major thing, maybe bring it down a star. And that can come across as kind of negative sometimes, and I feel kind of bad about that. But there are other times where I can really only just give vibes of a book. Like I know that this book, like I felt homey, like it felt like a warm hug to me, but I can't really articulate why. I'm still working on being able to articulate exactly what I'm feeling through books, but we're not there yet. I know I can be long-winded and kind of ranty when I talk about books, especially on my monthly wrap-ups. I try really hard to condense it down, but to my core, I just know I'm a yapper, and I know that I go on rants a lot when things upset me in books. I unfortunately just have a much better time articulating what I didn't like and what negative affected me than what I did like and how I positively reacted to this book and how it made me feel. It's definitely something I should be working on, but I'm not really sure how. Number 3, what's the book that made you a reader? Whether it was your first favorite or the one that got you hooked, what book started it all? This book is extra special because not only is it the first book I actually remember reading, but it also re-sparked my love of reading as an adult. And it is of course The Lightning Thief, the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. I have very distinct memories of being in 5th grade and having myself and all of my friends reading these books and becoming super obsessed. I remember very little from that time, but I do remember there being Greek mythology units in class and me becoming absolutely obsessed with this. I'm almost certain I was a reader before this, but I am absolutely certain that I was a reader afterwards. My mom would take me to the libraries every weekend. I would walk out with a whole armful of books and it would all be read by the end of the week, and we would go back and return them and get a new pile. This kind of stopped when I got to high school because I was in very high level English classes and I was doing a lot of literary analysis, and so I kind of stopped reading for fun, which made me very sad. And then I moved on to college. When I was an English major, I was reading a lot and really didn't have time to do it for fun. But because I was also on track to be a high school English teacher, I spent a lot of time in high school classrooms. And I very distinctly remember one day in sophomore year, I was in a classroom and my host teacher said that every Friday they spent 30 minutes reading. And so I showed up and I was like, okay, the kids started reading, and I turned to her and I go, what do we do? And she goes, we read too. And I was like, I didn't bring a book. And she goes, go over to my classroom library and pick out a book for you to read for these 30 minutes. And so out of all the books I saw, I didn't really want to get into anything. Like I didn't want to commit to it. Reading really wasn't a thing that I was doing for fun at the time, but I saw Percy Jackson and the Olympians there on her shelves and I was like, you know what? I remember loving that book. Let me just pick it up. And I started going through it, and when she said the 30 minutes was up, I was not ready to stop reading. And so on my way home, I drove straight to my local library. I got a library card and I checked out the first Percy Jackson book so that I can continue reading it. Since then, I've just read more and more books every year. Number 4, do you have a genre niche? Are there certain genres you gravitate toward, or do you read widely across genres? When I was growing up, my biggest genre was fantasy. I would go through the YA section and I would just check out every fantasy book. I would start, maybe this is very telling for who I am as a person, but I would start with author letter A and I would go through every book and check out every book that I thought that interested me, and I would take them home, and then the next week I'd go to B, and I'd keep going through the shelves like that just for the fantasy section. And then when I got more into reading as an adult, I started again with my YA favorite, and I again started going through the library shelves. I got on TikTok towards the end of my college career, and this is when I started picking up all the OG book talk favorites. I picked up The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I picked up 10,000 Doors of January, Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, these kinds of books. I picked up Agatar for the first time. And as beginning book talk is known to do, it also started putting contemporary romance in front of me. And I never really read that before, but I started getting used to the idea. I was never really a romance girly. I never really wanted to read them. Definitely some internalized misogyny in there for that. But finally around 2020, I picked up my first historical romance genre, because at that point I realized that I really loved Pride and Prejudice. That's when I just rediscovered it again since high school. So I started with historical romance. I read a lot of Regency romance still nowadays. And then after that, I kind of warmed up to the idea of contemporary romance. And there were 2 years there where I read almost nothing but contemporary romance. I read all of the original Book Talk darlings. And I realized that as I was going through, it was very new to me, and I was discovering these love stories and being like, hey, actually, I think I am a romantic, after denying it for my whole life. And so I was having a really great time. But as I was reading them back to back to back to back, I was kind of now realizing that these aren't all the same level of writing, and I got a little bit burnt out on romance, and that really ended towards last year. I was reading a lot of romance books that I wasn't loving, and so my average star rating was like 3.25 or something last year, which is just absolutely atrocious. And so for 2025, I'm making an admission to go back to my roots of fantasy. I'm picking up way more high fantasy novels. I'm learning that I love cozy fantasy. I'm loving that a lot. So I'm going back to my roots a lot, and I'm already having a much better time. I am also, if you've seen any of my TBR videos or my reading vlog videos, you'll see that I'm starting something new this year in which I'm trying to also read a lot more widely. I am reading around the world. I'm reading a lot more just general fiction books that I never would have picked up otherwise. I'm reading a lot of nonfiction. I've never read so much nonfiction in my life. And although I still don't really feel like a nonfiction kind of worldly person when it comes to reading, I'm definitely on my way to being better, but with a very healthy dose of fantasy and romance along the way. Number 5, do you generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? This kind of depends on the type of book that I'm reading. If I'm reading a contemporary romance novel, I've learned that I need strong, fleshed out characters in a plot-driven story. I really struggle with stories that are just like, do you like me, do you not, like, you know, and then miscommunication and family drama and that kind of stuff. I really struggle with those kinds of books. But if there is an overlaying plot in which there's something that we're working towards and you fall in love along the way, I thrive in those kinds of books. However, in fantasy, I'm learning that I'm kind of the exact opposite. I am absolutely an epic fantasy lover in which there is a large overall plot, something that we are going towards, and then strong characters along the way. I will always love those books. But I'm really finding that I love cozy fantasy in which the setting is so immersive. The characters are really, really great, and it's more of their day-to-day lives. There still needs to be a plot that's happening, but it doesn't have to be the main event kind of thing. If you're just a normal person in our world, I'm finding that I don't really care. Number 6, what's a book you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? What's that one book you love enough for everyone? This kind of means if somebody reads this book and they're like, oh, this wasn't really for me, like there are problems with it, all of this, I would be like, that's totally fine, like you're totally valid, but I don't care. Like I love this book so much enough that I don't care, like we can still be friends kind of thing. And for me, that is going to be pretty much everything by Ali Carter, specifically the Gallagher Girls series, which the first one is I Tell You I Love You, but then I Have to Kill You. This is about teen girls that go to a secret spy school. It's not something that I would normally pick up in this day and age, especially because I really don't read that much YA anymore, but something about Ali Carter's writing and this series in particular, I will always love and will always have such a special place in my heart. I remember loving this series when I was in middle school, thinking it was the coolest series ever, but I never finished it. And over the past few years, I've been finding them in little free libraries, and last year I went through and I finally reread the series, and I cannot even tell you, I flew through this first book. It is so YA that it hurts. This one is not my favorite. The second book in the series, when they introduce a new love interest, is literally, it had me kicking my feet and giggling and rolling around my bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And this book is meant for middle schoolers. That book in particular just like gave me the reading experience that I needed at that time, and honestly that I crave at all times. And the rest of the series just got bigger, and I wouldn't say better, but it got larger and like more things were happening. Number 7, what's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know your reading tastes don't align? The book or books where a difference of opinion is a strong indicator of different reading preferences. This one's the opposite of the last question, in which if you don't like this book, then our reading tastes probably don't align. And truth be told, there are very few books that would make me feel this way. Like I said, I've had so few 5 stars, so few forever 5 stars in my lifetime, that there are very few books that would like are so deeply ingrained in me that I will be upset if you don't like them. And so truly the only one that came to mind is Graceling by Kristen Kishore. I had this book on my Kindle in high school, and I cannot even count the amount of times that I read it over summers. I would read it on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, because it was just like one of the few books that I had on my Kindle. It's a classic fantasy series in which there are multiple kingdoms in this land. They're all ruled by rulers, and there are some people in the populations in each of the kingdoms that have 2 different colored eyes, and those people have some kind of magical powers. And so those are called the Graces, and when you have a grace, you're called a graceling. Graces can be anything from being able to talk to dogs, to being a really fantastic cook, to being able to precisely shoot an arrow across a target across 1,000 yards. It really can be a vast array of anything, and the kings in these lands tend to take advantage of these gracelings. Our main character, Katsa, has the grace of killing. In this book starts her quest of starting to question the system and the kings around her. It is adventure, it is fantasy, it is very smart people across lands trying to fight for what's right. There is a really great romance romance in here. They are one of my OTPs for all time. And the rest of the series continues on about other characters and other lands, and it's all very magical. This book came out in 2008. It is YA, but it isn't the kind of YA nowadays that it kind of talks down to you. It's the kind of YA that it trusts you to figure things out on your own. It trusts you with bigger topics and just brings you along a journey. It really is everything that I love about books and more. So if you strongly dislike this book, we probably don't have much overlap in taste. Number 8, what's in your trash pocket? What books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad but you love them anyway? I have 2 answers to both of these, and both of them kind of stem back to the fact that I am such a completionist to a fault, and it is very much a bad thing sometimes. Number 1, mass paperback Regency romances. I got into reading those in 2020, and it just opened up a whole new world for me, and I fly through them. They're the same like 10 plots over and over and over again. Like, everyone's gonna get together. It's always the Duke, it's always the Viscount, whatever. A lot of times he's trying to tame her and it ends up being the other way around. It's literally like the same 15, 20 stories over and over and over again, but I will eat them up. There was one summer in my life in which I was living in my car traveling around, and I read one mass paperback romance every single day. After I read my first few, I realized that all of the books that these authors were writing were interconnected. It's very much like Bridgerton, in which in a whole series, one book follows each sibling. It's very much the same. So like you have one series like that where it's about all their siblings, and then they'll have a next series that follows their neighbor's family and like their whole town. And then the next series after that will be like about the princes in this same time period in their world. And so every single series is in the same world, and you will get cameos from all these other characters. And so once I figured that out, I was like, oh my god, it's like the MCU. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I must read everything. But another thing about these authors is that they are insanely prolific. Some of them come out with 2, 3, 4 books a year, sometimes even more. And so when they've been writing for 30, 40 years, they have dozens, if not hundreds of books in their backlist, and I'm such a completionist that I'm like, yes, I must go to the beginning and read every single one of them. And so there are about 4 to 5 authors that I am always looking for their books, because you can't find them in some places. They're mass paperback, and so libraries don't carry them. They're never going to be in Libby. And so when I find their mass paperbacks, you usually find them for free or somewhere between $1 and $5 kind of thing. If I find them, I will buy them. But the problem is I refuse to move on from one author to another until I've completely finished one author. And so there's one author that I've been working on for 2 years, just reading absolutely everything in her backlog when I feel like Regency romance. And then once I finished with her, I will move on to the next author and read all of her books. Let me show you. These are my Regency romance shelves. These are just like larger paperbacks, more traditionally published things. But these 2 shelves are entirely just mass paperback Regency romances. Sabrina Jeffries is the author that I'm doing currently, but there's also Julia London and Julia Quinn up there. I have Lynn Curlin books. I have Gina Showalter books. There are so many Regency romance books in my house, because I can't read any of those until I read absolutely everything I've ever found by Sabrina Jeffries. And the second answer to that question is everything in the Rubyverse, aka I started with Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon, and I have read literally dozens of her books, because it's the same as Regency romance, in which each series is connected, but for hers it's alien romances. And unfortunately that's put me on to other alien romance authors, but I refuse to start with any of them until I read all the way through the Rubyverse. And at this point I am literally like 50 books deep at least, and she comes out with like 6 a year. It's insane. It's so hard to keep up with. They're not good books usually, but I have a good time, and I'm in so deep now that I just can't stop. Number 9, do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that if present immediately turns you off from a book? I have a lot of answers to this question. I am a certified hater and certified many things that will piss me off in books. But one thing that I am seeing over and over and over again, especially in my fantasy books, especially in my fantasy romance books, is that the plot is happening, war is happening, people are dying left and right. Like things are dangerous. Like there are a lot of things to worry about right now, but our main character, usually our main FMC, is so focused on the guy, the love interest, being like, okay, like instead of thinking on the eve of battle, like how they're going to protect their friends, they're thinking, should we have sex right now? Like, am I being attractive to him right now? Like, what is he thinking about? And then they sneak off and they have like a rendezvous together, or they're talking about, they're flirting while there's like war plans in the next tent over there. Nothing will take me out of a book faster than being so unfocused on the bigger picture and just being more about like the tropes of being in fantasy romance. If you are so focused on the romance in a very heavy fantasy world, of course there can be romance, but oh my god, if it's not in the right time and place, I will be so turned off of the book. I have so many more things I could say for that question, but we're gonna move on. Number 10, what's a strong opinion you have about a book released within the last year, whether it's overrated, underrated, or just a take you need to share? I am so insanely bad at reading books when they're released. A lot of the books I read have been released like 5-10 years ago, and I'm like just now catching up. I try really hard to read books that have been released recently, like reading current series so that I can support the authors, but I am really, really bad at it. I have so many books on my plate, and also if a new book is coming out and there's a lot of hype about it, I tend to push it off because I don't want the pressure of reading it right now. So I really can't tell you a lot of thoughts about books released in the last year. One positive one is that if you like cowboy romances, Jessica Peterson's series needs way more hype about that. And I guess something bad is that I didn't love The Rose Bargain as much as I thought I would when everyone was hyping it up. They felt it was way too YA to me, and there were a lot of things in there that really pissed me off. I did have a good time. I am going to read the sequel, but I think my expectations were too high, and that's why I push off books. Number 11, what do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? Is it prose, style, themes, voice, structure, or something else? Like I said earlier, I went through so much like classroom training to become critical of writing in general, and so unfortunately that has carried on into a lot of my fun reading nowadays. However, even as I say that, I'm still learning how to articulate what I'm experiencing through other people's writing, especially when it's well written. All I can really say is that when a book is well written, I am so immersed in the story that I am not noticing the writing. Like I could not tell you if it's in first person or third person, if it's in past or present tense, if we're using really beautiful lyrical writing. Like I literally could not tell you. All I know is that I just felt so immersed in the book. However, I really notice the writing when it's bad, and I can tell you why when it's bad, specifically because I am taken out all of the time because it is bad. And there are a lot of ways that writing can be considered bad to me. Like number 1, when the writing is too simple. There are really no complex words or themes or meanings within sentences. Like it's just like a this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And it's like on that kind of beat in which it's like this and then this and then this and then this. Like each sentence is like a line, half a line and a half kind of thing. Like they are short sentences that are like, all right, we're pushing everything forward. Like the story's moving faster, the story's moving faster. And it's really, really noticeable. I really noticed it a lot when I was reading The Rose Bargain, in which in a page, a whole day could go by because it's like this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, and I'm like, wait a second, we are going way too fast here. What do you mean? Like it is written so shortly, so succinctly, in a very bad way. There have also been things that I've just been taught in learning how to be a writer, that if you make these errors in your books, like I'm gonna notice it so fast because I was told not to use them. Some of it'll be like, okay, dialogue, she laughed, and it's like, no, it's like dialogue, she said while laughing, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, there's certain things that like, it's like writing 101. I'm like, you clearly didn't like take the same basics course that I took, and writing is definitely subjective. It's different for every person, but there are just certain things that will take me out of it. And I realize that it's very hard to talk about like this because I have a really hard time articulating what I do like in writing because I can really only articulate what I don't like. I'm hoping that as I get more and more into my writing career and, start talking more about books online, like I have been a lot in the past 6 months, I'm hoping I'll be able to be better articulated. Number 12, how do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead, mood read, or follow external factors? Hype, recommendations, arcs. The funny thing is, I am such a completionist that if I give myself a to-do list, I will follow it, but it could take me a very long time. For example, I told myself I was going to read all the cowboy romances I can get my hands on. In the past few months, I'll read like 8 at a time and then move on to something else that I have on my list. Like I will go through bam, 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 back to back. I'll get a ton of books out and then I'll need a few days break and then I'll pick something else up. Like I have these lists of books that I want to read, like either because it's spring or because it's for a video or because somebody told me to read it, like in my personal life. Like my cousin has been begging me to read the Hunger Games books, and it's been on my list for like 2 years now that I want to reread all the books and then read the new books that have come out. But I keep pushing it off because something else, like my homework, I have higher priority homework in front of me. And I will say that making videos for BookTube has kept me more accountable on the books that I say publicly that I want to read. Like for each month when I have my 5 category system, I get them done because I make a reading, I make a reading vlog for it and I make sure that I pump those books out. But if I don't feel like reading that book that day, I will pick up something else. So at any given time, I'm reading like 5 or 6 books at a time, and I will read a few chapters of it, of maybe a few days, and then I'll pick up something else and read like 10 other books before I go back to it. I get so many recommendations from literally across everything, but I'm also trying to read the books behind me. And so it's like books are constantly fighting for my attention. And I'm like, okay, the easiest thing for me to do is sit down and actually read the books in front of me so there's less in front of, like, so there's, you know, less on my homework. And yet that doesn't happen. Number 13, where do you get inspiration for your book talk content? What sparks your video ideas, other creators, trends, personal reading experiences? I get inspiration for these videos everywhere. I have a whole notebook filled with ideas and a whole like Google Keep note filled with more ideas. I have so many ideas that I feel like 2 videos a week is not enough, even though that's currently all I can handle. One place I get a lot of ideas from are the shelves behind me. I see series that I want to read, like maybe for the first time, like I've never read the Cruel Prince series. Like I would love to make a video of me reading that for the first time, or just reading through a whole author's backlist. Like videos like these I see in the shelves behind me that I really want to read. I have a lot of video ideas that just come to me as I'm out walking around, as I'm reading, as I'm driving around. I've always had ideas, like business ideas, video ideas, really everything across my whole life when I'm driving and when I'm showering. And that is of course when I don't have access to my phone, so I leave myself a ton of voice notes. And then I get an overwhelming amount of ideas from other booktubers, other book talkers, and other bookstagrammers. Sometimes they make a video and I go, hey, I want to also make that video, like the tier ranking videos that I make, or you know, specific book tags like this. I have a lot of ideas where I'm like, okay, I just want to do what they're doing and I will credit them. But I also get a lot of ideas about their videos, and something within their videos sparks what I want to do. So it's a little bit different, but I am constantly watching other creators' videos. I really don't watch TV or movies unless I set out to do it. And so when I'm like editing on my computer, I'm almost always watching BookTube videos. I get a lot of creators from there. Maybe this is gonna sound a little crazy, but it's how I do it. When TikTok was going to get banned, I went through all of the book talkers that I had found over the years, and I followed them all across on BookTok and on Bookstagram and on BookTube. And so I have so many booktubers on my YouTube that I'm subscribed to, but that I've never watched any of their videos. And so what I do is I pick a new person and I literally scroll back to the very beginning and I watch almost every video that they've made, which is how I know that book tags used to be very big, because I would go through and I would watch videos the creators posted 10 years ago. Like I'm going through every single video. And so going through, I am coming up with ideas that either they did very long ago that I would like to do now, or just sparking ideas along the way. So I will watch all of their videos up until now, and then I will go through all the videos all the creators that I've done that for. So maybe I've done 10 at that point. Then in the time that it took me to get through that person's entire history, I'll go and watch all of their new videos, and then I will go into the next person, and then I'll watch every single video that they've ever published, and then I will go through and watch all the new videos that all of these people have published now, and it keeps going on and on and on. So there are creators that I'm subscribed to that I've never watched a video for, and there are creators that I've seen every single video they've ever published for. And so going through one at a time, I think is a really, really fun way for me to get through a ton of content, and it allows me to get to know a creator. So if you are somebody I've just subscribed to, I will never like just watch your most recent video. Like I'm gonna watch everything. Number 14, if you can make any book go viral right now, what would it be? A book you think deserves more attention and why? Like I said earlier, I really don't read books when they first come out, and so everything I've read has had hype 5-10 years ago, and now I'm finally reading it. So I'm having a really hard time answering this question. And also, like I said earlier, I haven't had a 5-star book in a very long time. There are books that I love, but there aren't really any books that I'm like, everyone needs to read this right now. So I'm having a really hard time answering this question. But if I had to give like a few examples that I feel pretty good about, but like not so gung-ho about. If you like cozy fantasy, I wish you would read The Teller of Small Fortunes. If you like contemporary romance, I wish you would read Ali Carter's new releases. And if you like Greek mythology, I wish you would read anything by Natalie Haynes. Sorry, that was a very lukewarm answer to that question. I don't really have a book that I wish everyone would read right now. And number 15, who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? I am going to have to look through all of the people that I've subscribed to and have watched their videos for to be able to answer this question. I cannot come up with them with the top of my head, but I'm gonna put their profiles on the screen. I think I kind of have a hard time with this because not only do I read across a lot of genres, although it is mainly fantasy and romance, but I have a hard time because people are just so really enthusiastic about some particular books, and I'll read them and be like, well, but this, I didn't like this. So there are a lot of book overlaps of books that we both really think positively towards, but I'm not entirely sure if we think the same way about books. And I think a large part of that is because I'm still learning how to articulate my own like positive thoughts and feelings. There are a lot of book talkers that do really, really well about explaining the positive, where unfortunately I do a lot better at explaining the negative. So I think this question also is very hard for me to answer, and I'm hoping that if I do this video again in like a year or two, that I will be much better able to articulate who I love getting recommendations from and why. But I also just have the problem in which I'll get a ton of recommendations and they all just like go in my Goodreads or into my TBR and I have no idea who they came from. But those are going to be the 15 questions from my very first book tag. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you feel the same way about any of these questions or if you have your own answers. If you would like to make this video, I would love to see it. Please tag me or just comment on this video and be like, come see my video. I would love to watch it. But thank you so much for yapping about books today. It's a video a little bit different, but I'm hoping you see more of this stuff in the future from me. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.